the central question of the book of, am I doing okay at being a good mom while trying to be a good journalist and good at my work at the same time? I cornered James, my older son, in the hall outside his bedroom and said, was there ever a moment when you really needed me and I didn't come? He looked at me and then he looked at the floor for a long time, and I thought he was about to really let me have it. And he finally looked up and said, there probably were, but I can't remember any of them. And also, can I have some money for Chipotle?
From NCPR, North Country Public Radio, this is Northwards, introducing you to people you should meet, things you should know about, and voices you should hear from Northern New York, Vermont, Ontario, Quebec, and beyond. I'm Mitch Tyke.
Support for the Northwards podcast comes from the J.C. Steiniger and Emmy McDonald Charitable Fund at the Adirondack Community Foundation. In support of the Adirondack Community Foundation, building stronger Adirondack communities.
Hey, it's Mitch Tyke, host of Northwards here on NCPR, North Country Public Radio. Ethan Shanty, our producer and my partner in crime on these little introductions, is off for a couple of weeks, selfishly getting in some he time. I'm not all alone in the studio, though. I am accompanied by this small cup of coffee. It's iced coffee, actually, because the temperature is above zero. Both Celsius and Fahrenheit. I am not going to totally bore you with a one-sided conversation to get things going today, but I will say, by means of bringing us into today's previously enjoyed edition of Northwards, that these spring months are already feeling, I don't know, melancholy. Can a month be melancholy? Melancholy? Melancholy is a melancholy. It's another one of those words that the more you repeat it, the less convinced you are that it is a word and not just a collection of sounds. Kind of like that. There was a riff on Ted Lasso about it.
Me back if you are planning to bench him.
I'm not planning on that. No, my plan is for my plan to work. But you know what they say about the best laid plans, right? But, said plan too many times. Word's lost all its meaning now. Plan. Hey, you tell Man City that this man has a plan. Plan.
No, plan.
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 Like flan. Plan.
Flan? That dessert?
Yes, like flan.
Yuck. No, I don't dig on flan. Plan.
Word becomes sound.
What's that called again?
Semantic satiation.
Yeah. Okay.
Melancholy. Anyway, melancholy, because my son will graduate from high school in June, and so he's about to go into his last outdoor track season as a young person, and he'll have his last spring concert band performance, and last this, and last that, and it is hard to believe because, as you know, if you are a parent of a certain age, it's hard to believe because I'm pretty sure he was graduating from junior kindergarten about a month ago. So I got to thinking that it was a good time to revisit my interview with NPR's Mary Louise Kelly, who hosts All Things Considered, but also wrote a memoir about a certain time in her life, also as a parent. The book is called It Goes So Fast, The Year of No Do-Overs, and I spoke with her about it almost exactly a year ago. Mary Louise Kelly, it is a real pleasure to speak with you.
Mitch, my total pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So it has been a couple of years since this book first came out in hardcover, and 3 years since the year of no do-overs? When you go back to this book today, how do you feel that the reckoning you did in writing the book shapes the Mary Louise Kelly of 2025?
Such a good question to kick us off with. And I have to say, I'm so glad that I wrote it. I look back and I decided 3 years ago to write a year in real time as it unfolded. It's only 3 years. It's such a short window in the grand scheme of things. And I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. I forgot that moment. I forgot that conversation. I couldn't recount that with absolute accuracy today. It's already fading into the past. And I will say the update since I wrote my older son's senior year of high school, as he's now a junior in college, and my younger one is now off to college. I have an empty nest, and it really does go so fast. And I'm grateful that I wrote it. I say that And I keep thinking, I wish I had done more of capturing, we all do a good job of capturing birthdays and big holiday celebrations and all the, cute posed family portraits at high school graduation, all of that. I wish I had captured more of the moments of them sprawled on the floor during homework. Or taken more photos of, them burning the toast. It's just the little things, pulling out of the driveway in the moment, because those are the things that, looking back, are the ones that I miss, and that will stick with me.
Yeah, my daughter is halfway through her senior year of college, and my son is
Wow.
a junior in high school, and I'm thinking exactly the same thing. So you mentioned your kids. For the as fast and as furious as the year came for you, it came really fast and furious for them as well. I mean, it was a watershed year for their high school soccer team. They lost their grandfather. There was
Yeah.
their parents' marriage teetering. Do you imagine they might have their own books to write about that year someday?
Oh, I sure hope so. I sure hope so. They're both good writers, so I would look forward to reading that. It's funny, read they were required to read. It first invited and then mandated that they read the chapters in which they figure prominently, because this is my story, but in telling it, I have to tell some of theirs. And I wanted them to read and make sure they were okay with what I was sharing. They had veto power. They vetoed some chapters that I would have loved to put out in the world, and they were like, "Yeah, not that story, Mom. keep that one. Maybe now that you've written it, could we not burn it, and we will never speak of this again." So that is a long way of saying I suspect that they would have a very different version of what mattered and how things went down that year. One of the moments that I capture in the book that kind of sums this up is I'm a journalist. I'm a reporter. I like to report things when I have a question and actually try to gather some facts. So when I was trying to figure out, the central question of the book of uh, am I doing okay at being a good mom while trying to be a good journalist and good at my work at the same time, I cornered James, my older son, in the hall outside his bedroom and said, "Was there ever a moment when you really needed me and I didn't come because I was working?" And he looked at me, and then he looked at the floor for a long time, like a long, awkward period of time. And I thought he was about to really let me have it. And he finally looked up and said, "There probably were, but I can't remember any of them. And also, can I have some money for Chipotle?" I thought, okay, like, I can't have done too terribly in all of this. If that's, if you can't even remember any of my many, many mistakes, we're doing all right. And yes, you may have $20 for Chipotle.
It's probably only 5 years of therapy he'll have to go through, right?
Indeed, exactly.
You devote basically a full chapter of this book to what I guess could politely be called a run-in with then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, in which he was unhappy about being asked about Ukraine and basically tried to ambush you first in front of his staff in his office and then in the media afterwards. I think it was then NPR President John Lansing who described it as an effort to intimidate. For as public as this particular effort became, do you go into your work any differently today than you did before that interview?
No, I don't think so. I mean, my goal then and now is to ask tough questions of our public officials in the service of trying to figure out what they're thinking and why, and what decisions they are making in the name of the United States, certainly in the case of the Secretary of State, our nation's top diplomat, and in the service of holding them to account. And that's the job. That was the job then. That is the job now. It's what gives you courage in a situation like that goes in a totally unexpected direction. I expected to show up at the State Department that day and question the Secretary of State about Iran and Ukraine, and we did that. I did not expect to be given a map pop quiz asking if I could find Ukraine on an unmarked map, but that's what happened. I didn't expect the Secretary of State to issue a statement on State Department letterhead calling me a liar, but that's what happened. Subsequent emails that that I released, showing the correspondence with his office, held up our version of events. But no, I think the thinking carefully about what I want to know from an interview, what questions are important to ask, being really prepared, because by definition, you walk into an interview like that, and the person in question knows more about the subject than you do. And then pushing when you get an answer that feels incomplete or misleading or in contradiction with the facts. So that then, as now, remains the assignment.
You also write candidly about, and I don't know if coming to terms is the best way to put it, but maybe just dealing with your hearing loss. And I know that problem predates the particular year you chronicle, but I get the sense because so much was going on that year, would it have brought into sharp relief the risk of missing things?
Oh, yeah. Yes, by way of background, I have severe to profound hearing loss in both ears. I'm talking to you right now, wearing hearing aids, both ears. I anchor All Things Considered every evening, wearing hearing aids in both ears. Couldn't function without them. The development in the 2-3 years that have intervened since I first sat down to write this book is that my hearing continues to get a little bit worse every year. In my latest checkup, the audiologist said we're past the limits of what I can fully correct with hearing aids. So we'll start looking at what the next options are. And I had a moment, it was a few months ago now, but it was the first time I was at a yoga class, a hot yoga class, when they heat the room to 98 degrees or something so that you will sweat and cleanse yourself as you're doing the yoga. But it means it's tough to wear hearing aids because they're not supposed to get wet. So the whole class is basically silent to me. I'm just going into down dog when other people around me do. I can't hear much. And at the end, there were two women talking right next to me, like on the mats, right next to me. And I could hear that they were speaking, and I couldn't even make out what language it was. We're in Washington. There's a lot of people speaking a lot of different languages. And I thought, I can't even tell if they're speaking English. I'm literally not getting a single word of this conversation in normal level voices right next to me. So it's an evolving thing. And I keep figuring out small modifications I need to make to my work to continue being able to do it. And so far, so good. And knock on wood that technology continues to advance at a faster rate than my hearing loss.
I think I read an interview you once gave where you were concerned about just what you just described about not being able to perceive the language. And, on a personal level, the light bulb went off for me, and I recognized that phenomenon so clearly that I decided maybe it was time to get my hearing checked. And I'll say, and I took the hearing aids out to do this interview because I haven't figured out how to keep them from feeding back inside the headphones.
Well, I have advice for you on that once we.
Okay.
But that brings me joy. If some tiny piece of that message hit home, and I hope improved your life and improved your ability to carry on and do the work and engage fully with everybody around you, that is so great to hear.
Absolutely, yes. One, I guess, final question to tie this all together. As this paperback comes out and people have a chance to read about this part of this act of your life, can you give them a status update? How are you doing?
Oh, let's see. I get a little harder of hearing every day. I walk past my son's now empty, utterly pristine, clean bedrooms every day, and it's like a knife to my heart. I open the fridge every night, and all the food that I left in there the day before is still there, uneaten. It's miraculous. I wake up occasionally on a Saturday morning, and for the first time in 20 years where every waking moment was spent driving to godforsaken soccer fields in the back of Beyond because my sons both played from the day they could walk. I wake up on a Saturday morning and think, what will I do today? How shall I pass the time? That's literally not a thought that ever crossed my mind for the last 2 decades. And it turns out the answers to those questions include more time with friends and like maybe throwing a dinner party once in a while or having more time to write the next thing and just go outside and take a long walk, and I don't have to do it on a soccer field somewhere. And it turns out I miss every second of my boys being small, and also that life is pretty darn great.
Well, Mary Louise Kelly, I hope life continues to be great, and I hope we'll talk again soon.
Mitch Tyke, I will look forward to it. Thank you.
Mary Louise Kelly is one of the hosts of All Things Considered on NPR. Her memoir is called It Goes So Fast, The Year of No Do-Overs, and we first talked with her about it last March. You can read more about it at ncpr.org/northwards. That's also where you can find our past episodes. You can get in touch with us to suggest future interviews as well, and you can find out how to support this show. Northwards is written and produced by me. I'm Mitch Tyke, with digital production work from Ethan Shanty and oversight by Bill Hanel. Caitlin Kelly does our social media, and our theme music is by the Wickmore Jazz Trio of scenic, lovely Plattsburgh, New York. Northwards is a production of NCPR, North Country Public Radio.